People, let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah.
All right, welcome. Let's get straight down to business. We thank you all for sharing the link. Good morning to all of you. We know time is money and people's schedule is important to us here on 107.1 FM. We have taken our guests off their busy schedule this morning. As you can see, Senior Counsel Roysdale Forde is in his vehicle, and we have former Assistant Commissioner of Police is with us. He is in his studio speaking out. We got to talk a little bit about that. But this morning, we want to talk about the U.S. State Department report on Guyana. It's damning. It's not surprising at all, because this is what happens whenever the PPP is in office. But specifically, we want to touch on Anil Nandalal. Actually, of all the things that were said in that report, has singled out one particular situation, and that has to do with the allegations made by Detective Sergeant Bascom. The allegations made against Bascom, that Bascom has made against a friend of Irfan Ali, a friend of the PPP, that is Azruddin or whatever it is, Muhammad, and allegations that Azruddin Muhammad is connected to that murder. That's the only piece in that report that Anil Nandalal has decided to speak out on. Let's get to our first, Mr. Roysdale Forde, Senior Counsel. He's also a Member of Parliament. Mr. Roysdale Forde, we just missed him there. We will hopefully be joined by him soon if we just can't get him via the... If we can get him via that, we might as well get him via the telephone, because, as you know, time is money and money is time. Mr. Slowe, good morning to you in the meanwhile. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Mark. I'm fine, thanks.
Good. One quick second. We have the Member of Parliament, Roysdale Forde, is via telephone. Mr. Forde, we will operate through here. But what is your take? Good morning, sir. What is your take on the U.S. State Department report, sir?
Good morning, Mark, and good morning, Mr. Slowe. Good morning to the audience. I believe the report is another indication of the international community's condemnation for the poor governance and the mismanagement of the Guyana Police Force and the nation as a whole. I will go right into the comment made by Mr. Nandalal. He seeks to focus only, in the entire report, seeks to focus only on the reference in relation to the Fagundes investigation. But you know, Mark, I just checked the report again, and Mr. Nandalal overlooked the very first sentence under that section of the report. The report is very clear. It's not ambiguous. It is very clear that there's corruption in the Guyana Police Force. Mr. Nandalal seeks to gloss over that sentence completely. As the Attorney General, he failed to indicate what measures are being put in place to address corruption in the Guyana Police Force. I believe the reference to the Fagundes matter is a reference to indicate that there's corruption in the Guyana Police Force. Not that that is the only evidence that supports corruption in the police force, because it's a very clear statement. There's corruption by Guyana Police Force officers. So that is the first point I want to make, that nonetheless diatribe failed to provide any solutions, failed to indicate what is the government's position on corruption across the board, and in particular in relation to the Guyana Police Force. And his response to me certainly indicates that the government have no interest in addressing corruption in the Guyana Police Force.
And does it?
I'll stop from this.
Yeah, but we know you are, of course, you have a busy schedule, and we take that into consideration. But isn't it ironic that of all the other reports, allegations, and so forth, that Anil Nandalal singled this particular Pagundas case, this controversial case that implicates, mind you, the allegations that implicates a quote-unquote businessman that is close to the PPP?
Well, certainly it shows the interest of Anil Nandalal and the PPP to protect their own. That is the first issue with the report. And that is why they're seeking to attack the report. Now, when you look at what Anil Nandalal says, he seeks to indicate or puts out to the public's consideration that at the time of the report, that the report is flawed and incorrect, because at the time of the report, there were a number of investigations undertaken by the Guyana Police Force or by the government of Guyana so clearly to show that the report was flawed and to show that the Guyana Police Force acted properly. My response to that, Mark, and I hope Mr. Slowe probably shared this view, it is indicating clearly and truly the opposite. Because if the State Department is in possession of that information that Mr. Nandalal puts out there, the State Department is saying to the country and to the world that they consider whatever investigative processes would have been undertaken by the government and the Guyana Police Force as having little or no credibility of. Because that is why they proceeded to say that there's corruption in the Guyana Police Force, and that is why they proceeded to say, assuming that Mr. Nandalal is right, and I'm confident that the State Department would have all the information that Mr. Nandalal seeks to indicate would show that there was a proper investigation. I'm saying that the State Department is in possession of that information, and their statement, coupled with the first introductory sentence in that section of the report, shows completely that the United States and the international community is saying that whatever took place in relation to that investigation is lacking substance and credibility.
Substance and credibility, indeed. Let us get to former Assistant Commissioner of Police, also Chairman of the Police Service Commission, and other positions he has held. A man with integrity, Paul Slowe. Mr. Slowe, good morning, sir.
Oh, my mic is muted. Oh, yeah. Good morning to you. Good morning to your viewers, your listeners. Good morning, Senior Counsel Roysdale Forde. I want to commence by saying I fully concur with the assessment made by Senior Counsel Forde in relation to this report by the State Department in relation to this investigation of the Fagundes murder. I too agree that the United States State Department will not come out with a report like this out of thin air. They have the facts. They would have seen what transpired. And let me just remind our listeners, our viewers, of what transpired. The allegation, Fagundes was murdered some time ago. This is about 2 years or so ago, outside of Palm Court, in what they call this open assassination. He came to his vehicle, men pulled up, came out of a car, and fired on him with machine gun, looked like assault rifle, AK-47. He was gunned down. And for those of you who are not familiar with the geography, Palm Court is just about, I think, about 100 yards away from the president's official residence. Following that, the police started an investigation, and for some reason, many of the persons who were fingered as suspects were never questioned, were never arrested in this investigation. In August, I think it was, of last year, one of the ranks who was involved in the investigation, Detective Sergeant Dan Bascom, came out with a damning allegation. He claims that a businessman paid the head of the major crimes unit 30 million Guyana dollars to cover up this investigation. That is what Bascom alleged in his Facebook post and all of that. Now, following that, the police hastily, the commissioner and the crime chief had a press conference, and according to the crime chief, the press conference was called to debunk Bascom's claim because he made a lot of claims, and it backfired spectacularly because evidence was produced. One of the things that Bascom said, there was a man that he arrested, and he took to his to the CID headquarters, a man who was wanted for questioning. The crime chief said that wasn't so. And the man himself admitted, the man's lawyer admitted that it was Bascom who took this person to the CID headquarters for questioning. So they wanted to debunk the allegation. So the reaction to Bascom's allegation was the police, the high command of the police force, coming out to call Bascom a liar. That is what they did. So no proper investigation was done. And then following outcry, the president claimed that they were asking the regional security system, the RSS, which I know has no capacity to investigate, but they were asking them to review. And let me make this clear. That is what they claim, not for RSS to assist with the investigation, but RSS would review the investigation. And following this review, which they say was done by some person who served in the Scotland Yard in London some time ago, the Ministry of Home Affairs issued a statement summarizing what this report from the RSS said. They never made the report available. When the minister was questioned, he said that it is confidential and it could not be made available. Following that, in what I believe was continued effort to silence Bascom, he was slapped with several charges, cybercrime charges. He's now interdicted from duty. In the meanwhile, we have more than anything further on this murder investigation, the Fagundes murder investigation, and therefore I fully agree with the statement by the United States State Department that no proper, even if they might not have styled it this way, basically they're saying no proper investigation was done into the murder and into the allegations, these damning allegations made by Detective Sergeant Bascom. So I think they are worried when Slowe or any one of the local people speak about it, then they attack the individual. They don't listen to the message. These attacks. But now that the State Department has said substantially the same thing, I think they are more concerned. That is why they rush to this statement to say that this thing was investigated and that RSS also investigated. And I want to emphasize, according to the statement made by them, the government, that RSS was never invited to conduct an investigation. RSS was invited to review what was done by the Guyana Police Force. And again, RSS could not have conducted an investigation. How can you conduct an investigation when you never spoke to the person, in this case, Bascom, who made this allegation? He was never spoken to. Bascom was never spoken to in relation to this matter. That is what he said, and they never denied that. So let me stop here for now.
Thank you. Thank you. You've given us more than a mouthful there. I know the Honorable Attorney, Senior Counsel, I was going to say Attorney General, but you never know. I wouldn't take back that. But Senior Counsel, Member of Parliament, Roysdale Forde is in his vehicle. He's traveling somewhere around the country. Maybe he's heading to Berbice. I don't know. He's always busy on the ground with the people. But were you surprised, Mr. Forde, as a lawyer, when the installed regime, decided that they're not going to release that report from the RSS?
No, I wasn't surprised at all, because I too came to the conclusion that one, the capacity of the RSS did not exist to engage in examination, and we were never told what exactly were the terms of reference to the operation of the RSS. So I wasn't surprised at all that they did not include based on what I would have seen in some aspects of a report which purported to be the RSS report. There was nothing that indicated that the Guyana Police Force engaged in any credible sort of investigation at all. But Mark, I wanted to add something in relation to what Mr. Slowe said, in relation to the nature of these State Department reports. These are serious documents, and they are prepared by the United States State Department, not because they want to be interventionists in the state, in the affairs of any state, or including Guyana at all, but it's an annual requirement by law under the Foreign Assistance Aid Act, and it's supposed to be the basis upon which the United States State Department and the United States government will make assessments in terms of how they provide aid and interact in relation to those countries that are subjected to these reports. And I must say that this report is a damning report in terms of the justice system, the rule of law, corruption, and democracy as a whole. There are other aspects we haven't touched on the report yet. The government's control and attempt to continue suppress the expression of people by seeking to monopolize and exclude other views through state media and through the media as a whole. These are fundamental aspects and pillars of any democratic state. So when Ali jumps up and down and speaks about we are democracy, we are not a democracy because we're not in compliance with the fundamental principles, as evidenced recently by his State Department report.
Lots of evidence, and I know, Senior Counsel, we just have just a few minutes with you here. I do have a few more questions for the former Assistant Commissioner of Police, but I will direct this question here. You weren't surprised at all when you saw that Anil Nandalal, who sits there as the quote-unquote Attorney General, decided to just single out one piece of that report, that long, damning report, to specifically deal with one particular matter at all. You weren't at all surprised, were you? Mr. Forde.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was directed to Mr. So no, I'm not surprised. Because they're seeking, by only focusing on that issue, in this attempt to provide information which would discredit this aspect of the report, that is their intention, that this would discredit the entire report. And as I indicated, Mark, I would have expected the government, including Anil Nandalal, to come out with a statement pointing out what is the government's position and plans on the other aspect of the report. He hasn't come out on anything in relation to the freedom of expression, the right of the opposition and dissenting voices to access state media. He hasn't come out with anything dealing with the treatment of the Amerindians in relation to the land titling rights for their lands. He hasn't come out with anything in relation to the discrimination of African Guyanese that's touched in the report. He hasn't come out in relation to anything at all in relation to corruption, and specifically in relation to the Guyana Police Force. So this is a very weak and shallow attempt by the Attorney General to discredit a report of the United States State Department.
Absolutely. Is there anything else in the report that you wish to speak on before you go? We'll give you that last word since you are actually in your vehicle heading to a meeting or somewhere. Mr. Forde.
Yes, Mark. I would just like to point out that what I've said, I'll summarize it, that I believe that this report indicates and is a measure of the poor governance that the country is receiving. It points out clearly that in not only in relation to the Fagundes matter, but that the Guyana Police Force is completely mismanaged. We saw the entire process that led to the purported removal of Mr. Slowe and the other members of the Police Service Commission. We saw the dedication by the government and the Nandalal to ensure that their matter is not heard in an effective manner. We saw the government's attempt during the period of Mr. Slowe to compromise him as a chairman of the Police Service Commission and to compromise the activities of the Guyana Police Force at all by promoting persons who were suspicious who ought not to have been promoted, persons who were not competent. We saw the introduction recently of persons who are sympathizers of the People's Progressive Party into the Guyana Police Force without going through the standard processes for entry into the Guyana Police Force. So we saw also recently the government's desire, which ended up in court, to appoint Mr. Hicken in a manner that is contrary to the Constitution, the unilateral appointment of senior officers. These things are directly connected, Mark, to what the State Department is speaking about in relation to the Guyana Police Force. They're speaking about the corruption, and the corruption is not only in the Guyana Police Force in an active way in terms of the corruption, but it's also in the Guyana Police Force in the corrupt acts of the executive in terms of how they seek to influence decisions upon which they make promotions and to direct and run the Guyana Police Force in a way that is contrary to the interests of the Guyanese people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Forde, Senior Counsel, also Member of Parliament, always here, willing to give your views and busy in the courts as well, fighting all those cases. Thank you so much for what you do. And I know you're off to a meeting. Just travel safely around the country there in Guyana. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Senior Counsel there, Roysdale Forde. Let's head back to, and those of you who are now joining us, good morning. We are just talking about the U.S. State Department report and the fact that Anil Nandalal, who sits there as the Attorney General, has decided to speak out on just one particular matter, and that's allegations made by Detective Sergeant Bascom, concerning corruption in this particular case of Ricardo Fagundes, who was shot and killed in front of Palm Court. And as the former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Paul Slowe, just indicated, it is just a stone throw away from where Irfan Ali stays. That is at State House. So let's get back to the report here. Lots of damning things, not only the Fagundes case, but also we were reminded about the Oren Bascom situation where he was murdered by members of a SWAT team. Also, they spoke about Dean Raj situation where he was killed, according to the report, by members of the Guyana Police Force. We have heard of Quindon Bacchus and all these cases that were highlighted in the U.S. State Department report. Take it over from there. I'm sure you're not surprised that these things are kept alive through the U.S. State Department report, but not by individuals in Guyana law enforcement or even those in the installed regime.
Not at all. I'm not surprised. They did also mention the fact that Peter Headley, who was killed by the police, an inquest was ordered, and the report stated quite clearly that until October of last year, the inquest had not been held to determine if anyone was criminally responsible for the death of that gentleman. So as we pointed out, that this report is a damning report. And let me say this about this purported RSS report. We know how the government operates. And I am saying that if this report that they claim to have been put together by the RSS, the review or whatever it is, I am saying that if it was favorable to the government and the Guyana Police Force, they would have made it public. They would have gone on the propaganda run. I am further saying that the fact that they chose to say that this report is confidential and cannot be made public indicates to me that there are issues in the report which, as we would say in Guyana, skin up the whole system. And to me, that is what it is. So to come out now and to single out this one aspect of this report, and I read the report, I read through it quickly, and then again I looked at it again this morning, because when they say about corruption, let me read what a part of the report says here, and this is section 4. They say corruption by police officers was frequent. That is what they say. Corruption by police officers was frequent. Now let me further say that if you live in Guyana, if you even visit Guyana, You cannot dispute this. The stories are legendary of persons you're driving around the place, people stop you, shake you down, persons arrested and bribes have to pay for them to be released and all of that. It's there, it's there. So I don't know how you're gonna try to defend. I think what should happen is that you have to come out and let us know what steps, what measures are being taken to address the issue. But to come out and to try to discredit this report, it's not going to work. And let me further say that when statements are issued by certain persons in government and the police force, people don't believe because they lack credibility. They are not credible, so whatever they say has to be taken with a bag of salt.
Certainly, they lack credibility. This is a vehicle that Peter Headley was traveling in when two members of the Guyana police force stopped the vehicle and asked him to drive to the police station. While they were driving to the police station, we are told, according to reports, the police at the back actually shot Peter Headley. They shot Peter Headley right there from the back of the vehicle, and they killed him. And the $2 million that he had, according to reports, went missing. The DPP ordered an inquest. This was in 2021. An inquest was ordered. To this day, we haven't heard a single thing about that. As a former senior police officer, does this worry you, sir?
Well, it does. It does. As I said, the report about the actual shooting of Peter Headley was a worrying report. God has said he was stopped, some suspected stolen article or some fancy story like that. But then he was sitting in the car, and in the front seat, police, I think, was driving the car. He was sitting in the front seat, and the police in the back seat claimed that Peter Headley reached some object or something like that in the front, and he at the back shot him in his back and killed him. And to this day, an investigation was done, they claim, and to this day, the inquest that was ordered has not been held. And I would think that when something like that happens, then you have to make sure that the inquest is held in a speedy manner so that people can know what the facts are. And again, to even clear, if they are to be cleared, the policemen who were involved, because it's not fair for the policemen who were involved, if they are innocent, to have these things dangling over their head. So I would think that the delay in having an inquest into this matter, as reported and as we know, and it's contained in the U.S. State Department report, is very, very worrying indeed.
Very, very worrying indeed. No inquest, nothing. The family of Peter Headley, they're still awaiting justice. Not only the family of Peter Headley, in the report, as we see here, the wife of Orrin Boston was showing where her husband, when she and her husband was laying in bed, the SWAT team barged into the room, shot him point blank, killed him right there. That was also featured in the U.S. State Department report. Let us just remind folks that a police constable was actually charged. We don't know if he took the rap for this, but he was subsequently placed on $1 million bail. We haven't heard anything about the case or whatever. Were you surprised that it led to the charge of one constable?
Well, no. I say yes and no. First of all, in this matter, if I recall correctly, I remember when I was overseas at the time and I was following the case. They went in this SWAT team. And Mark, let me just say that people fail to remember, and I think people are not addressing the old circumstances. That was a time when cabinet had an outreach on the Essequibo Coast. The government of Guyana, the cabinet of the government of Guyana had an outreach on the Essequibo Coast. And the SWAT team, the police SWAT team, went there around the same time. They went there around the same time to carry out operations at several places. That's what they claim. Until now, no one can say, remember that was an issue, who authorized the SWAT team to be there. Everybody at that stage became shaggy. The man who was carrying out the functions of the Commissioner of Police, Nigel Lappy, made it public that he did not authorize the presence of the SWAT team on the Essequibo Coast at that time. And up to now, that question remains unanswered. Who sent the SWAT team? Anyhow, the shooting took place, and the first release from what I would call one of the propagandists for the police was that Boston tried to take away the firearm from some police, and in that process, he was shot and he was killed. Later on, we got to understand the man was sleeping naked in his bed when the police barged in and shot him in his bed, lying next to his wife. And the evidence supported that. After some protests, we understand that this lone policeman was charged with manslaughter. Now the question is, he wasn't there alone. He was there with others. And even though he might have been the one who pressed the trigger and issued, others are culpable in this matter as well. Others are culpable. And even if, I'm sure they perusing the evidence, they should have been charged as well. But that is what we have. The DPP decided they want to charge this one man alone. And I suspect that that was only done to try to appease the family and the members of that community who were protesting. And I say in these matters, let's wait and see what evidence it is. I know these things tend to fall off the front page, and therefore I am not going to be surprised if shortly you hear, or sometime you hear that, look, the man walks free, because no proper investigations are done when these matters occur.
No proper investigations at all. I've noticed, Mr. Slowe, that someone is saying here that RSS report was never released, and people, members of the public are suspicious of that report not being released.
Well, the minister claims the Minister of Home Affairs claims it's confidential. I don't know our report of that nature is confidential. And even though he claims that it is confidential, they sought to release aspects, what they claim of the report. It was there in the media. They claim that aspects, one of the things they said the report lacks. And I think the release yesterday by the Attorney General pointed out to that, where they're claiming that the RSS says that the report or the statement from Boston lacks provenance or something like that, they claim. But even though they're saying this report is confidential and should not be released, they released aspects of the report which they felt would perhaps show them in a good light. But
that they are comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what's happening, but I guess we all understand what's happening and the cover-up in the Guyana Police Force, and of course the installed PPP regime, zeroing on that only one part. All the other parts in terms of discrimination and all manner of things in the Guyana Police Force, Anil Nandalal, who sits there as the attorney, as he would say, Attorney General, only wanted to discuss one particular matter, only because, in my opinion, it happens to reference, without directly calling the name of Azruddin Mohammed, but this case of Fagundes, it is alleged, mind you, that Azruddin Mohammed was actually, a suspect in this Fagundes murder. And it would appear that the PPP regime is out to defend and protect Azruddin Mohammed by any and every means necessary. This young man here, Dean Raj Singh, was also referenced in the U.S. State Department report that he was shot and killed, according to the report, by the police, members of the Guyana Police Force, and nothing has come out of this at all. Again, you're not surprised, Mr. Slowe?
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I'm not familiar with the details of this particular incident. I saw it in the report, and I plan to go look it up to see exactly.
Yeah, apparently there was a domestic dispute or whatever. The police were called. As soon as they got there, they just opened fire. According to reports, they killed this guy. They claim that the usual, you served for, as we would say in Guyana, donkey years in the Guyana Police Force. And I say that with all due respect for your service, and as I salute it. And they just opened fire on this young man, killing him. There has been no investigations. No one was charged, but he was also named in the U.S. State Department report.
Let me say this to you and the viewers, Mark. They are going to be occasions that we don't get away from that. There are going to be occasions when the police will be justified in using deadly force. I have no doubt about that. The issue that we have in recent times in particular is because the police lack credibility. When these incidents occur and they put out a version, they have a unit they call the public communications unit. They write so much rubbish that people do not believe. They have no credibility, and when they come up with these things, and that is the worrying part, because I maintain that there are going to be instances when policemen, the life of policemen and other persons are threatened, and they are justified in using deadly force. And if persons are killed, that is the unfortunate result of those incidents. So that we don't, I would never for one moment say that every shooting that the police is involving or any fatal shooting is unjustified. That is not so. But as I said again, the stories that are being told stretches credibility. You listen to these things and you want to know if this is a Nancy story people are telling you, and that is where the problem lies. So people don't believe what the story is.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% that there are times when the police shootings are justifiable, indeed. But because of the credibility issue that the Guyana police force has right now, it is difficult for citizens to buy into whatever they publish. This leads me to, and we are not painting everyone in the Guyana police force as trigger-happy, blood-sucking individuals going out there to murder people. But because of the lack of credibility they have right now, people are going to question almost every shootings. This brings me now to as we move away from the U.S. State Department report, to the incident, the shooting incident out there in Linden yesterday. The police, they're claiming that they had intelligence-led report that led them to this house or this location where two individuals were. One of them suddenly happens to be a suspect that the police wanted for whatever crime. They shot and killed the individual. They injured another individual. The police claim that these folks opened fire at them first. Oftentimes we hear this sort of thing, open fire at them, no police injured. I'm not saying they should have been injured, but no vehicle damage, nothing, no evidence of that sort. What is your take on this latest shooting based on reports, Mr. Slowe?
Well, I just had a brief look at it, so I'm not familiar with all the details, and therefore I don't think I'm at liberty to make any comment. However, I would say that, again, these things require a proper investigation, because if you're saying that the suspect fired, then we must have ballistic evidence to support such a claim. The weapon that you say that you recover should have the evidence. The ballistic evidence should be there. The man, the victim himself, should have evidence to show that, yes, he did fire a firearm. Again, the problem is that if you even come up to say, yes, this weapon was recently fired, even if you have gunpowder trace on the clothing and the body of the deceased, credibility is a big issue. Credibility is a big issue, and unless people believe what you say, then it's going to always be this a big level of skepticism. And I don't know the circumstances. We only hear the version of the police. It would be interesting to know if other persons were there and witness went on, including the other person who is now hospitalized. And I guess we're going to have a clearer picture as to what transpired at that place yesterday.
Does it bother you with the years that you have served in the Guyana police force, the service given to your country to serve and protect, that the image of the Guyana police force is so shattered at the moment that not even the public, the general public, they have absolutely no confidence in the Guyana police force? And it's unfortunate because the other honest ranks, they suffer.
I agree. I mean, the image is at its lowest. I am in constant communication with several of my former colleagues. We have WhatsApp group and we have all other means to communicate. And people are expressing, people have said to me and to others, they are ashamed to have been associated with the Guyana Police Force based on what is going on now. I said that since I retired in 2010. There was evidence emerging of this lack of credibility, and I made a statement about that. I made a statement when I retired and I gave my farewell speech. I made a statement about this issue, and it has gotten exponentially worse. People don't believe anything that comes out of the mouth of the police. People don't believe anything that the acting commissioner says, because he says things and immediately contradicts himself. I always remember, if you recall, the incident with the policeman who was killed New Year's morning. He said they're going to be transparent and they're going to be frequent updates. None, no update, months and weeks after, no update. And therefore, that is the credibility issue that we have. Going back to the same press conference that was held following the revelation by Deon Boscom. Nobody believed what they said, and then evidence emerged which contradict what the crime chief and the commissioner acting said in that press conference. So once you have that type of thing, no, it's a big problem. But I'm saying, having served the Ghana Police Force for 37 years, I'm ashamed to see what the force has become, especially in the past 2.5 to 3 years, with the direct political interference and manipulation and control of the Ghana Police Force.
We have heard of phone calls that you've received from senior quote-unquote government officials asking you to, in a not so subtle way, to interfere with the process when you were the chairman of the Police Service Commission. We are definitely going to discuss that maybe in another occasion. But let us get back to the State Department's report, of which Anil Nandalal zeroed in on, the only part of that report. To this day, there has been no proper investigations into what Detective Sergeant Bascom is alleging. It is obvious that they have turned Mr. Bascom into this bad guy. They have targeted him. They have charged him. They are persecuting him. He's not being protected. That's what they have done. The police and members of this illegitimate installed regime are going after Bascom, and not what Bascom has said, not the allegations that a quote-unquote businessman by the name of Azruddin Mohammed is a suspect. They have never pulled him, according to, we have never heard or saw that this happened, that they ever pulled in Azruddin Mohammed to question him about the murder of Fagundes. They haven't done that, but instead we see Azruddin all over the place, getting contracts and all manner of things, posing for pictures daily with some officials, members of the Guyana Police Force, all manner of things. But not a single day we have heard that they pulled him and this other suspect, mind you, Mark Richmond, who happens to be a guard at Azruddin. Are you concerned that they are trying to shift the focus away from the allegations made by Detective Bascom?
Well, all Guyanese should be concerned that the allegations are not being properly investigated. And let me say, I know they brought Mr. Mohammed, and I think Caesar and someone else brought sued Bascom for the things that he said. But I've said this, I said it before, I'm saying it again. It's in the interest of Mohammed and Caesar and all of those forces, if they are innocent, to have this matter properly investigated and clear them. It is in their interest, because unless that is done, they're going to always be viewed with suspicion. And suing Bascom or trying to silence Bascom is not going to work. It's not going to work. The allegations were made, and therefore, again, I say it is in their interest to make sure that a proper investigation is done, and if they are innocent, the investigation will so prove. And that is where credibility again comes in, because such an investigation, I said a long time, cannot be credibly done by members of the Guyana Police Force, no department in the Guyana Police Force. And we had said that an investigation of that nature, we're talking about a murder just a stone's throw away from the president's official residence. We're talking about allegation that $30 million was paid to senior persons of the police force to cover up this matter. This required some credible institution, not the RSS. The RSS has no capacity to investigate or even to review such an investigation. Let's get people from the FBI or Scotland Yard or some place where people will come and an agency with credibility and whatever the finding is will be believed by all and sundry. But again, it is very worrying that such a serious allegation can be made, and then what you have is retaliation, I would think, against the person who made the allegation. Because don't forget, he was charged, he was interdicted, he's now interdicted from duty, charged with cybercrime offenses, and I think even efforts made to have him dismissed and all of that, and not a single effort, not a single attempt to investigate this allegation made by this detective sergeant, who, let me remind people, says that he was part of the investigation. So this is not somebody who came off the road and is making these allegations. He claims that he was a part of the investigation into the Ricardo Fagundes, aka Paper Shards, murder, and therefore he must know something.
Absolutely. He must know something, but the deliberate and blatant attempt to basically make Detective Sergeant Bascom a target and not go after the individuals. You are correct. If Azruddin Mohammed, as a suspect, mind you, he is a suspect in the murder of Fagundes. If he is innocent, then therefore, why not walk into the police station and say, look, I'm innocent. I have nothing to hide. Just get this matter over with and done. But the brazenness, the presumption of these individuals that they don't give a damn. They want to prove that they're above the law and they can do anything. And so they run around, take photographs with senior police officers, senior quote-unquote government officials and so forth, and say to hell with the general public. Put some money in an envelope, give out to people, and that sort of show-off kind of business, kind of like that they're in. Now, I mean, moving away from this, because we already know what Anil is up to. We already know the PR game that he's playing as it pertains to this murder matter and the suspects. What Anil Nandalal did is just a PR gimmick to protect his friends, possibly, these suspects, to protect them from the U.S. State Department report. We notice Azruddin Mohammed's father is now becoming a politician. He's running for office in the upcoming local government elections. I don't know. Gosh, Guyana. We've got to pray for Guyana. But Mr. Slowe, not so long ago, you were arrested. Here it is. Thank you, Lemon. You were arrested. You were being persecuted there. A senior member of the Guyana Police Force served, I believe, for over 40 years. You were being arrested by little-known Mickey Mouse policemen who are taking political orders, as people may suspect, through SOCU, to grab you and arrest you. Give us an update on this case, please, sir.
Well, Mark, this is you mentioned earlier that senior politicians called me over the phone to discuss, to get me to do things at the Police Service Commission, which weren't permitted. It is more than that. I had a meeting with the president on the 16th of September 2020. President arranged for me to meet with him at the office of the president. Just to say, people might know.
Sorry, Mr. Slowe, it's not my intention to cut you. But when you say president, you're speaking of quote unquote Irfan Ali.
President Irfan Ali, yes. I had a meeting at the office of the president with President Irfan Ali on the 16th of September 2020, during which he wanted to, told me he wanted certain people promoted. And coming back to the incident that you're talking about, well, it all goes from there. Some of the things I am not at liberty to speak on at the moment, and just to inform you and others that following this, the Police Service Commission that I chaired was suspended on the 16th of June 2021. Now, tomorrow, I think it's 1:15 tomorrow, Justice Gino Prasad is supposed to deliver his ruling on that matter. So I am constrained in terms of what I have to say in respect of that particular matter. But this one that you are showing up here is where, having not acceded to the request of the president, they had this trumped up charge, conspiracy to commit fraud. Myself, Mr. Conway, who was another member of the Police Service Commission, some serving and retired police officers. This charge was filed on the 19th of May, 2021. At the time, I was overseas on duty. I returned to Guyana on the 13th of October because my lawyer received the summons for me to, the summons was applied for by Assistant Superintendent Krishnanath Ramana of Soku. So this was communicated to me through my lawyer, and the matter was to be heard before the magistrate on the 15th of October. So I traveled to Guyana on the 13th with the sole intention and purpose to attend court. I turned up on court on the morning of the 15th to answer this trumped up conspiracy to commit fraud charge. And when I turned up to answer this charge, 4 ranks from Soku, Krishnanath Ramana, and others, Duke and others, are there in the compound of the Georgetown Magistrate Court to arrest me for the same matter that I turned up in court to answer. Believe this. Let me repeat that. I am summoned by Ramana to attend court on the morning of the 15th of October 2021 to answer this trumped up charge of conspiracy to commit fraud. And when I turned up on the morning to answer the charge, Ramana, Duke, Singh, and some other one, they're there to arrest me. Your Honor, what for? Conspiracy to commit fraud. The same charge, well, I question them, the same charge that I'm appearing in court to answer, they are arresting me at the bottom of the court step for the same charge. And then when I protested, told them they have no authority to arrest me for a charge that is already before the court. They then told me, Ramana, this is a senior investigator at Soku, then told me that he has to arrest me to read the caution after charge. I mean, this thing is laughable. So I said, well, you can't read caution after charge when a person is already charged and before the court in respect to the same matter. And then the dilly-dally. Well, I know the object, what they were instructed. And I know by whom they were instructed when I turned up that they were going to arrest me, take me into the inquiry's office of the Georgetown prison, and cuff me. And then they had their people from the media waiting there to, when I came out, to take photographs and to have it plastered all over the media. But I was not going to be allowed that because that what they attempted to do was totally illegal and unlawful. And, well, the matter is not finished. They might believe the matter is not finished. And let me say this. I made a report at Brigdam Police Station, which at the time was housed in the St. Stanislaus School compound, about the assault that was committed by media. And I provided a detailed statement. And that was on the 15th of October, 2021. Nothing has happened. I made a report to the Police Complaints Authority. And when I turned up at the Police Complaints Authority on the 22nd of February, 2022, because they said that they were going to investigate, Duke and Ramana were summoned by the Police Complaint Authority, and they refused to cooperate. They refused to cooperate with the Complaints Authority, and then the Complaint Authority said, well, he's going to report their conduct to the Commission. And then again, yet again, nothing has happened in that matter. Nothing has happened. But I know what course of action I will have to take in due time. So that's what I'm telling you. And this is the same assistant superintendent at the time, promoted to superintendent. And this is the same man who arrested the attorney. Remember that?
I was going to, after you finish, ask whether
the same man who arrested the attorney.
Who illegally arrested the attorney.
Well, for advising our client not to give a statement from the police. This is the same man who arrested the attorney. I think Clark was her name. Because she advised our client not to give a statement to the police, he arrested her for that. So that is what we have. So this matter, as I've said, there are many aspects of it. The criminal aspect, I think this now is for the 26th of April, or 26th of May or something like that. I'm not sure. 26th of April. 26th of April, this criminal charge of conspiracy to commit fraud comes up before the magistrate. So the matters are still ongoing. As I've indicated earlier, the one where the president, as we claimed, unlawfully suspended the Police Service Commission on the 16th of June 2021, that matter is set for tomorrow afternoon before Justice Gino Prasad is to deliver his judgment on that matter.
And following that, we will definitely we will carry your rebuttal. Either way, we wish you success in that case because it's obvious persecution, political persecution, no evidence, no nothing. And I'm hoping, and we are hoping that this will be ruled, the ruling will be in your favor. We will carry a rebuttal from you live right here on 107.1 FM.
Well, let me say this, Mark. Let me, as I alluded to earlier, because the matter is still, this matter with the suspension is still, is sub judice, as they would say. I am not at liberty to comment on all the irregularities and all that I observe and so on. But once tomorrow afternoon, once the judgment is delivered, I intend to speak to my lawyers, even before then, and to have a live program to bring the public up to date with all that has transpired in this matter.
Absolutely. And when you have that live program, I know you do have your live program of which you speak out every week about corruption and so forth, and I commend you for that. It's called Speaking Out. We will carry you tomorrow live right after that decision of the High Court. Mr. Paul Slowe, I want to ask you another situation with these individuals. In my opinion, I'm saying that they are being persecuted. It's almost 3 years now that they are being persecuted. The regime claims that these folks were involved in whatever the allegations of irregularity at GCOM. To this day, every single day these folks turn up in court, there is nothing. The prosecutor isn't ready. The magistrate gives the prosecutor more and more time to prolong this persecution. What is your take on this particular matter and not being heard whenever it's called?
Well, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. You charge people, and one will then assume that having charged, the evidence is there for you to go through a trial. But you charge people, and then it is being postponed and postponed and postponed, and it's a deliberate ploy to stress people out. The report that we referenced earlier from the State Department addressed this pre-trial delays. It is addressed in the report as well. That has become the norm, as I indicated too. We have a situation in the matter that we referenced earlier where I am charged. The 19th of May, 2021, charges are filed. 19th of May. And this is March 2023. The trial can't even start yet in this matter. So the matter comes up next, as I indicated, April 26th. Sometime then, it would almost be 2 years since the matter has been filed.
And this is exactly what the U.S. State Department has touched on as well, right?
Yes, exactly. They touched on it. I have the report here. They touched on it somewhere. Where they talk about the delay, the pre-trial delays in these matters. They talk about it in the report. So the Attorney General is not commenting.
He missed that? He
missed that. He didn't read the part.
But wait a minute. He didn't see all these things in the U.S. State Department report. And here's where I want to take our listeners back. He didn't see none of those things, but he saw only the part that dealt with an investigation or lack of investigation pertaining to this suspect in the murder of Fagunsi. That's all. A suspect, mind you. That's all.
The report is here on page, the statement is here on page 4 of the report. You know, it talks about pretrial detention. And it says lengthy pretrial detention remained a problem due primarily to judicial inefficiency, staff shortage, and cumbersome legal procedure. The average length of pretrial detention was 3 years for those waiting trial at the magistrate's court or the High Court. This often exceeds the maximum possible sentence for the crime for which they were charged. In other words, what this report is saying, that you are charged with a matter, and it takes about 3 years before the matter is determined. And they're saying that the maximum sentence to the crime can be less than 3 years. So you're waiting more than the time that you can be sentenced for this matter. The Attorney General is not commenting on that part. He's not commenting on that part. They said delays. The same report said delays and inefficiencies undermined judicial due process. That is what they're saying in the report.
And that is exactly what's happening here with.
And then they go on to say shortages of trained court personnel, postponements at the request of defense and prosecution, occasionally allegations of bribery, poor tracking of cases, and police slowness in preparing cases for trial cause delays.
Wait a minute. Of course, I read the report, but again, all these significant things that Anil Nandalal missed, and he wants to hoodwink the police with the Bascom allegations.
Conveniently missed.
Conveniently missed. Meanwhile, these people are being persecuted. Trevor Benn, Heath London, and a whole host of other people are being persecuted. No evidence being led against them. None whatsoever. I don't know. But I don't know. Our listening audience are not that gullible.
Let me say this, Mark. This is what is not known by yourself, perhaps, and others as well. In my case, once I was charged, once I appeared in court on the 15th of October 2021, and was granted bail on this trumped up charge. My lawyer decided to play it safe, Mr. Nigel Hughes. Because I work overseas. Let's go to the High Court for permission to travel out of the court. And you may not believe this. The Attorney General opposed my traveling abroad. You understand the Attorney General? I'm not talking about the Attorney General chambers. The Attorney General himself in person. Well, it was virtual, but he appeared to argue that I should not be allowed to leave the country because of this pending charge against me. That is what you have. That is the type of lawlessness you have in the place. The Attorney General appeared. He found time to appear on more than one occasion. The matter was before the Chief Justice to argue.
But yet friends of the regime who are suspects in murder.
Yeah, and more than that, when the Chief Justice ruled that I should travel, the Attorney General's chamber gave notice that they're going to appeal that decision. They gave notice. I had to move to the court on 3 occasions when I wanted to leave.
Just to get to travel back.
To leave, costing you money and time and all. That is the wickedness that you have. So this delay that they have in the thing is and let me say this. I'm not being controversial, but I'm saying it. But these delays can only be occasioned because the people, the magistrates are allowing it, because I think they should stand up and say, look, this thing has been going on too long. Set what we call a preemptory date. You're ready by this date, or the matters are going to go.
They just don't. They're not. A lot of these magistrates are not doing what they should be doing. They're afraid. They're operating under duress. Recall Geeta Chandan when she ruled and convicted, I believe, the son of then Prime Minister Sam Hinds, how they swiftly removed her. Remember how they operated with Juliet Hola Allen, who was the chief magistrate? They quickly and swiftly removed her. These vagabonds in the PPP regime only want individuals that they can manipulate and they can make corrupt. That is all. They're not about justice. And this is not saying that all of the magistrates are corrupt, but the magistrates have to be brave and judges have to be brave to make decisions that are independent of the executive branch and not be bullied by these guys.
And you keep it with the law. Just stick to the law, because it's unfair to persons to have these matters, persons who are charged, defendants, whether defendants or they're accused, to have these matters running for 2-3 years all this time.
It is unfair. You're speaking to someone who has had to wait over 4 years on a trumped up treason charge.
Exactly. In our case, conspiracy to commit fraud over 2 years, and you can't have a trial in this. It's unfair.
So I know what it's like, Paul. I know what it's like. Let's, Mr. Slowe, let's get to this here quickly. Serious allegations of corruption leveled against Barajagdio. But yet the police force have not moved in. SOCU has not moved in, but they're rushing under to arrest little individuals and say that they're charging them with money laundering and all manner of silly things. But they're not moving against the big suspects in these matters. Big suspects. Let me just for 30 seconds play this before I get your response, please, as to why the reluctance of the Guyana Police Force and SOCU in this matter.
Source. Okay, well, maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you, or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Slowe?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place. Yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes. Yes.
Why is it that they are so reluctant to even bring this man in and say, look, these are serious allegations. We need to have, and Jack Dale has said he has no problem with an investigation. Irfan Ali has said he has no problem with the investigations, yet there is no investigations. What's happening, sir?
Well, what's happening is because the police, SOCU and the police force are not going to investigate a matter like that unless they get instructions, and who are going to instruct them? The same people who are to be investigated. I made a comment some time ago that if you look at the Winston Jordan matter, nothing was being done by SOCU, and this very vice president made a statement that he was surprised, he was disappointed that SOCU weren't dealing with some former ministers, and he singled out Jordan. And I said at the time that if I were a betting man, I would wager big that before long, SOCU was going to arrest Mr. Jordan, and as I said, find something for him. In other words, find some charge. And within a short time thereafter, that is exactly what happened. So you had a dog whistle from the vice president, and SOCU then felt compelled to act on it. In this case, the allegation is against the vice president, a serious allegation. In all my years in the police force, I have never heard of a more serious allegation against a government or any other official. This is an allegation that the vice president takes bribes to facilitate certain that is the allegation. And this is not just a word of mouth. The tape is there, the sting operation, so to speak, and nothing. I'm not aware of any investigation being done. And there is so much circumstantial evidence in this matter.
But yet they want the ordinary people to take them seriously.
I made a statement then, and I am repeating it here for those who might not have heard it. I am sure when you look at that tape that you showed a while ago, you know, they get behavioral scientists and the people who deal with body language and all of that. I am sure that some reputable organizations around the world would have analyzed that tape, body language, reaction, and all this everything, and they would come to their own judgment. But nothing is done, because when you look at it, when the name was sprung, one started to stammer, as we would say in Guyanese parlance.
It doesn't even have to take a trade. People from the quarantine or BV, or Buxton or Agricola or Linden or Man, Report Portmont or Blackbush, you could stand up. Even auntie from wherever, from Philippi village or uncle, could stand up and know and say, by your lie. But let's look at this here. And I'm sure that almost everyone who's looking at this program right now would say to Barra Jack there, by your lie.
Source. Okay, well, maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you, or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Slowe?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place. Yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes. Yeah.
It's just like I recall when I was a little boy, I loved sugar and stuff. And every minute you get in touch with the sugar thing, and your fingernail gets sugar, and your fingers get sugar, and then your parents or your grandparents say, "Buy you take sugar," and your mouth full of sugar too. You know, the evidence is clear. No, me not take no sugar. That is Barra Jack there. So
that's right, Mark. That's what we call circumstantial evidence. They didn't see when you actually took out the sugar. But the fact that sugar is missing and sugar on your fingers, sugar on your mouth, the circumstances suggest that you did in fact take sugar. Similarly, when you look at the reaction, the circumstances suggest that there is guilt somewhere there.
Obviously, sitting there with a bowl of sugar. The evidence is there. Circumstantial evidence, a bowl of sugar. Now, not only that, this is what Sue actually said. Sue said that when I made contact with him. How long have you been living at Jack Dave's house?
No, the people just, I don't know what I'm doing. They never do nothing there. You understand?
Yeah. So how long have you been living at Jack Dave's house?
Huh?
How long have you been living at Jack Dave's house?
Hello?
Yeah. How long have you been living at Jack Dave's house?
For 1 year now.
Okay. So how much rent do you pay every month?
I pay 1.2.
1.2 million Guyana dollars? Mr. Slowe, you heard, that is Sue. I made contact with Sue. Sue said how much he was paying Jack Dale, 1.2. Jack Dale said he doesn't know where Sue works or anything. How is it that you are going to rent a property? I have a property. You want to live in my basement, Mr. You know they love to say we live in but you want to rent my basement. I'm going to say, all right, you just pay me $600 every month. You're going to rent a space in my basement. The other space, we're going to rent it to Burke or somebody else. I say it because they love to say people in the basement, right? And so I'm going to take your money without asking you, man, where do you work, sir? I'm going to say, no, just pay me and that's it. And I don't know who you are. So Jack Dave, is claiming that he doesn't know how Sue makes his money. Does that make sense, sir?
Well, that is rubbish. One of the things that struck me is the fact that you have a tenant, according to the vice president, the tenant can bring people into your home, your apartment to discuss business, right? That strikes me as very, very unusual. That you have a tenant that you know too much, all is a tenant, but yet still, this man can come and bring people into where you live to discuss business. You got to tell, as they would say, you got to tell that to the Marines, man. Tell
that to somebody else.
The Marines.
No, but before we go though, Soku seems to be politicized, highly politicized. Nothing good is coming out of Soku other than targeting mainly opposition element. And the low-lying fruits, little individuals, they're charging for money laundering. The big ones in the private sector commission, the so-called businessmen, the money launderers, and all these people are getting big contracts. But they're not being targeted by Soku. Is Soku being used as a political tool to go after mainly opposition opponents?
Well, let me say this about Soku. There's no doubt that Soku is highly politicized. You recall in the same matter that I referenced earlier with the young female attorney who was arrested unlawfully by Soku for advising her client not to give a statement to the police. The story goes that once that illegal action was taken by the police, our senior, the person in whose chamber she worked, he called the Attorney General Anil Nandalal. He not reach out to the commissioner, he not reach out to the minister, he called Anil Nandalal. And Anil Nandalal publicly stated that he called the head of Soku and instructed that the attorney be released. That tells you everything that you need to know. That tells you, first, the question is, why would the senior lawyer call the Attorney General in a police matter of that nature? And why would the Attorney General call directly to the person in charge of Soku in a matter like that? It's control. It tells you who controls that department of the force. I don't know if you need more evidence than that. I don't know if you need more evidence than that, but nothing that Soku, all of these charges that Soku filing and so on, including the charge against me and others, are politically directed. They're told what to do. And again, I say in all of this, these charges are criminal charges. And according to the Constitution, the Director of Public Prosecutions has the authority to deal with all criminal charges. So, for example, when the charges are brought against some people, you remember Boston brought a criminal charge against the crime chief, the DPP intervened and it discontinued. The female police rank Bollers brought a criminal charge against the attorney who she claims Patanor. The DPP intervened, discontinued the matter. And that is what you're having. So the DPP tells them who to charge, what to charge for, and then if for some reason the private criminal charges are brought against people, the DPP intervenes and discontinue the charges.
As we have seen,
we have seen repeatedly, not on one occasion, as we have seen repeatedly.
All out. It seems as though they went right after, the DPP chambers went right after Bascom in order to protect the suspect, Azruddin Mohammed, in the murder of Fergundez.
And that one too, that's it. Yeah. That's one, because remember, in the Bascom case, his lawyer representing him said that, look, the Disclosure of Public Information Act, what we call the Whistleblower Act, protects Bascom, notwithstanding that they went ahead and they charge him. And he is no doubt, based on his revelations, can be described as a whistleblower.
Well, he is a whistleblower.
Right, he's a whistleblower. And the law, Guyana has a law as to how you should deal with the whistleblower, and that was disregarded totally.
Yeah, and these guys are not concerned in protecting the whistleblower, and the evidence is quite clear as to why. Look who he's standing with, the suspect. How can we expect him to want to protect the whistleblower, in this case, Detective Sergeant Bascom? I don't know. So with not much confidence in the Guyana Police Force, not much confidence in the judiciary, not much confidence in the Director of Public Prosecution's office. Where does that leave Guyanese in terms of getting justice?
Well, it leaves us in a very perilous situation, and it's a worrying thing, because if people can't go through the right channels to get justice, next thing you know, people are going to decide to revert to the law of the jungle, and you don't want that. You don't want it. Because if you can't get justice from the established institutions, people are going to decide at some stage they're going to take the law into their hands. You don't want that. No society wants that. We cannot afford to have that type of behavior in Guyana, because then the strong will dominate the weak. You don't want that. So one hopes that these institutions will function in the way they were intended to function.
The way they were intended to function, it is obvious they cannot function that way under the corrupt, installed, racist, the apartheid regime, PPP. It cannot happen. I've seen some questions with regards to how can the DPP be removed. The DPP's position is a constitutional position. That person cannot be fired just like that unless there is evidence of fraud or corruption or whatever. That person that holds the office of the DPP right now cannot be removed like that, cannot be fired just like that. I just thought I'd make that clear. Just like Ramson Senior cannot be fired as a Commissioner of Information. It's a constitutional position, and constitutional positions is very difficult to remove that person. The president, no one sitting there as the president, installed or otherwise, can fire any such person.
Well, let me just say, Mark, I held the constitutional office as chairman of the Police Office Commission.
You were forced out.
When the president wanted me out, they manufactured charges to get me out. They trumped up.
Because your time there was just about to expire too, right? And they used that.
But no, that makes
the life of the commission, the life of your commission was about to expire.
Well, that makes it even more. That makes their motive even more transparent, because the commission is suspended on the 16th of June. When the life of the commission would have automatically ended on the 8th of August the same year. The commission had less than 2 months to function. So the question was asked, why would you run around the Constitution, right? Ignore provisions of the Constitution, specifically Article 225. Why will you do that?
I guess you know what their argument was. There were serious charges leveled against the officers of that And you know how corrupt the PPP is. You met with Irfan Ali. There's always grounds, but you are correct. They can find reasons to remove individuals.
Well, let me tell you this. Again, this is information. You know, as I said, I can't really divulge
is
much
that,
today.
Paul? Is
Well,
that the decision that's going to be rendered tomorrow?
Yes, that is a decision, but the suspension of the commission had nothing to do, according to the court documents and all of that, had nothing to do with the trumped up charges that were brought. So I really can't go into it today, but tomorrow, stay tuned, because once the decision is rendered, one way or the other, the matter is no longer sub judice. So then I feel liberated, and I can say what I want to say in respect of the matter.
Let me ask you this.
I say to people, when I speak, I'm doing all the research with all the dates and all the documents. So when I speak, I have the evidence to support what I'm saying.
Fair enough. And we will carry that live tomorrow right here on 107.1 FM. Do you know whether, the judge decision tomorrow is going to be live, or is it just a...
I know from previous matters, what happens is that I think some media persons are attending. You know, it's going to be virtual. And once people get the link, then it is left to the people who operate the court to allow who they want to allow to listen. Because sometimes they would say that the thing is not to be carried live, but people can listen. I think reporters are allowed to listen in to the decision. Yeah.
These decisions should be made public. We are hoping that it's going to be made public. And we here at 107.1 FM, we're optimistic that the ruling will be in your favor. But like you have said, you will go live tomorrow. We will carry you live right here through your Speak Out platform, right here tomorrow on 107.1 FM, maybe around 2 o'clock or so. Quickly before we go, Mr. Paul Slowe, again, I thank you so much for your time. I know you said you had another engagement, and I appreciate the fact that you have put that on hold while you answer questions. Of course, the public, they are pretty much appreciative of that. But recently, we learned that the police didn't grant permission to the PNC to hold a necessary march against discrimination. We see it a lot in this installed PPP regime. What is your take on that, not granting permission to march?
Well, I don't know the reasons why they were advanced, because the Public Order Act stipulates how they call it a march. How a march you can apply to in this case, it's the person in charge of the division, the chief officer of police, and the law defines the chief officer of police as the person in charge of the police division in which this march is to be held. A public procession, that is what the law, but I don't know what reason they would have given to not grant permission for this procession. But it is worrying. It is worrying. I don't know. Because if we're talking about democracy, we're talking about freedom of expression. And again, this report from the State Department mentioned that. So I guess this is something they will mention at some other time. I don't know what reasons they would have advanced for not allowing this procession to take place.
You know, I know I've said finally, I got two things I want to say. As a man who served your country in the Guyana police force, to have a police posing like this, a teacher, this in a classroom. How does that make you feel? What message is this?
Is that Guyana?
Yes, it is Guyana, sir.
My Lord, I've never seen this one before, but well, it's sending a message of lawlessness. It's sending a message that we are living in a lawless society.
Lawless society indeed. Before we go, finally, wanted bulletin was issued for this woman for acts of terrorism. Mr. Slowe, acts of terrorism?
Well, this word is being bandied about selectively. There are incidents, people will tell you about the Bath settlement incident on the 6th of March, 2020. That wasn't terrorism, where policemen were injured, and I saw policemen running. And you know, this wanted bulletin thing, this is a new feature in this Guyana police force, where persons are wanted for questioning, And it would appear that even without efforts being made to go to where these persons live or work to try to get them, wanted bulletin, people are saying that the first time that they knew that police wanted them to question in relation to any matter is when they see the picture plastered on social media and in the regular media that they are wanted in police to question. That cannot be right. That cannot be right. A wanted bulletin ought to be a last resort. You made efforts to contact the person. You cannot find the person. You don't know where the person lives. You don't know where the person works. Or more, the person, you have evidence that the person is evading you. Then you issue the wanted bulletin. But it seems that this now is a forced resort method. Forced resort. You issue, this body is wanted by the police. And terrorism, what not terrorism? Acts of terrorism. Now,
Exactly.
what are acts of terrorism? They're trivializing this whole phrase, acts of terrorism. I hope they don't regret it. They're trivializing this thing.
They're putting these silly things.
Sensationalize this thing. They put so much rubbish out there. You know, only yesterday I had a big laugh up to this morning where they have decided that a man was remanded for being in possession of a semi-automatic machine gun. Well, the people like me and others who know about gun, we had a good laugh last night and this morning. These people are writing, and I say it's a credibility thing again, because when you write all of this rubbish, you also issue wanted bulletin for people who you have not made any effort to arrest. Your credibility is going down the road. What little you have left, because some people tell you that they don't have any or they don't have much left. What little you have left, you're destroying. You yourself is destroying it. It doesn't take anyone else. You yourself is destroying little credibility that you have, if you have any at all.
And the thing is, to the people who they should be issuing wanted bulletin for, they're not issuing. They're mingling, they're whining, they're dining with those individuals, and they are even giving those individuals hundreds of millions of taxpayers' contracts to build God in heaven knows what. But it is what it is. We wish Miss Simon all the best and others. They are being persecuted by this vicious, this racist regime in Guyana. Mr. Paul Slowe, is there anything else you wish to say before we wrap up this morning that I haven't asked you?
No, Mark, I say thanks for the opportunity to be on the show this morning. Again, I say that the State Department's report is a very worrying, it's an indictment against the government and the police, what is going on. Because one aspect, I mean, the State Department report did say too about corruption in other agencies, organs of government. They made this, they said that in the report. And again, rather than addressing this issue, to just come up and to cherry pick one part to say that is not so is indeed very, very worrying. The people are saying that, and they're not going to make these things up and to say these things just because they want to write something in the report. I don't think so. I think they said it because they have evidence to support what they have said and address the issue. They talk about discrimination, address discrimination. They talk about corruption, they talk about corruption. I guess when I said there remains widespread corruption in the Guyana police force, that is what the report is saying. And as I've said earlier, no one can deny that. No one can deny that. No one can deny that. So,
not even Anil, save and except he just rushed out to defend one individual. That's what it is about. People are not stupid. People are not that gullible.
We big, but we aren't stupid.
Absolutely not. Mr. Paul Slowe, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for so much that you do as well in speaking out on your program. Tomorrow afternoon, just maybe around 1:30 or 2 o'clock.
But I'm not sure about the time because, as I've said, the matter is scheduled for, I think, 1:30 or so.
Yeah.
And once the decision has been rendered, then I will get some time. I'm doing the research, but I will post what time the program will be. But definitely tomorrow. I am thinking more like 6 o'clock in the afternoon to have it done.
All right. So whatever time it is, we will get the decision even before you go live as well too. But when you go live, we will carry it live right here on 107.1 FM. Mr. Paul Slowe, thank you so much. I see behind your name you have CCH, DSM, ACP. All these, ACP means Assistant Commissioner of Police, DSM. Tell us, dear, what is it again?
Well, the DSM, for those bright people, I see you have Rod and those guys here. The DSM is Disciplinary Service Medal. Some will say that some who got DSM means that he's a damn stupid man, right? But in my case, it's a Discipline Service Medal given to me for my service in the police force.
And these are things that you have earned. You didn't get it as an honorary, or you went to some IFLAT, some mysterious sorry.
Right. So for those bright boy out there, the DSM, again, is Disciplinary Service Medal. Some people have a DSM, but that connotes or it abbreviates the damn stupid man. Not in my case.
Oh, not in your case at all. But why are you picking on? Why are you? It seems as though you're picking on Raul. Why are you picking on Raul? At least you earn those things that you have. You earn them, sir. Thank you so much for your time, and to our listeners, thank you all for your time as well.
Thank you much,
Raul. I'm not going to tell the people that I held you back from your gym. God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Paul Slowe there, the former Assistant Commissioner of Police. We're breaking things down there. The State Department report and what Anil attempted to do with that piece, that portion, one piece alone, Anil tried to zoom in on for obvious reason, right? We know what the obvious reason is. He wants to protect Azruddin, right? Their boy, Azruddin. Azruddin, who has admitted that he's under investigations by U.S. law enforcement agencies for drugs, for money laundering, for assassination or whatever, for being involved, allegations all by U.S. law enforcement agencies that he has made public, mind you. It's not like some of us probably didn't know, but he has made that public, that the regime seemed to be comfortable with those sort of individuals. My name is Mark Benchap. I'll be back this evening, 9 o'clock, right here on 107.1 FM. God bless you all. Take care.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you, so call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
People, let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah.